Airports are often places of excitement and anticipation, but for some, they become stages for humiliation and prejudice. On a busy Monday morning at Atlanta International Airport, travelers lined up for routine check-ins. None expected to witness what was about to unfold. A respected federal officer, quietly preparing for an official overseas inspection, approached the counter with her passport in hand. Moments later, gasps rippled through the crowd as the gate agent, without warning, snatched the passport, mocked the woman's appearance, and held it over a small trash bin lighter. The smell of scorched paper filled the air. No one realized yet that the woman they were humiliating held the power to audit and discipline the entire aviation industry, Alicia. Grant had spent nearly 2 decades working her way up, the Federal Aviation Administration. Born and raised in Detroit, she had faced doubters at every turn, professors who assumed she'd never pass engineering courses. These colleagues dismissed her technical insight. Even passengers who mistook her for a flight attendant despite her high-visibility FAA badge. Now in her 40s, Alicia was the FAA's chief inspector for international aviation safety. Her visit to Europe was routine, another inspection of transatlantic carrier operations. But for Alicia, every trip abroad still carried echoes of her past, being treated differently because of her skin color. That morning, Alicia arrived early at the airport, dressed neatly in a navy suit, badge tucked into her purse. She always kept a low profile in public, preferring not to draw attention to her position. The airport buzzed with travelers dragging rolling bags and parents corralling restless children. Alicia wheeled her modest black carry-on toward the check-in counter of an international airline. She had made this trip countless times before, always with professionalism and calm efficiency. But the new gate agent on duty that morning was different. Witnesses would later recall her stiff smile, her habit of sizing up passengers as they approached, and the impatient way she tapped her pen on the counter. Alicia offered a polite greeting and handed over her passport. She expected the routine process: scan, print boarding pass, proceed to security. Instead, the agent's expression shifted from indifference to open hostility, as if she had found a reason to assert authority. This was not a simple misunderstanding. It was the spark that would ignite a very public act of humiliation, one that dozens of bystanders would never forget. The first sign of trouble was the way the gate agent scrutinized the passport, tilting it under the light as if searching for flaws. She asked pointed questions in a cold tone, questioning Alicia's travel purpose and insinuating the passport might not be valid. Nearby passengers shifted uneasily, sensing the tension but saying nothing. Alicia remained composed, and years of working in regulatory enforcement had taught her to stay calm under pressure. She explained she was traveling for work, but deliberately withheld her title. She preferred to let her credentials speak for themselves if truly needed. The agent's questions grew sharper. Was the passport genuine? How did Alicia afford the ticket? Was she sure she was on the correct flight? The words were technically within the agent's rights to ask. Still, the tone carried the sting of suspicion, often reserved for those unfairly judged by appearance. Alicia's calm responses only seemed to irritate the agent more. Soon, the agent announced that the passport didn't look right and called over a colleague. A short exchange followed, low voices, glances toward Alicia. Then came the shocking escalation. The agent snatched the passport from the counter and, instead of following proper verification procedures, raised her voice so the nearby passengers could hear. "Fake documents aren't tolerated here." Gasps spread through the line. Before anyone could react, the agent reached for a disposable lighter used for sealing luggage tags. She flicked it to life and held it under the passport's corner. A thin curl of smoke rose. Alicia stepped back in stunned silence, unwilling to escalate the scene. The surrounding crowd froze, some recording on their phones, others whispering in disbelief. A security officer, alerted by the commotion, approached. Instead of intervening on Alicia's behalf, he lightly held her arm as if she were the problem. The gesture signaled to everyone watching that the situation had turned against the passenger. Alicia's mind raced, not with anger, but with the instinct of an investigator cataloging every procedural violation in front of her. unlawful destruction of a federal travel document, improper handling of a passenger, breach of protocol. She said nothing. Her years of experience told her that the most potent response was not a loud protest, but allowing the unthinkable to unfold. Leaving no doubt about the wrongdoing, the agent smirked, tossing the charred passport fragment into a bin. Murmurs in the crowd grew louder. Several passengers stepped forward to object, but the security officer raised a hand, implying that order had to be maintained. To those watching, it was a simple case of overreach by airport staff. But beneath the surface, the humiliation of one traveler was about to become a matter of national aviation accountability. Alicia waited until a supervising manager arrived to respond to the disturbance. By then, the gate agent appeared defiant, justifying her actions as a measure against fraud. The crowd pressed closer, phones still raised, eager to record whatever came next. The manager asked for an explanation. The agent repeated her accusation about the fake passport, waving at the charred remains as proof. The security officer nodded as if in agreement. Alicia calmly reached into her bag and produced a slim leather case. When she opened it, the gold-embossed federal seal caught the manager's eye first. Then the words on the credential, Chief Inspector, Federal Aviation Administration. The murmurs from the crowd shifted instantly to gasps of recognition. The manager's face paled. The gate agent's confident posture crumbled. Alicia did not raise her voice. She stated her position, her duty to uphold aviation safety standards, and the gravity of destroying a U.S. passport in public without due process. The security officer slowly released her arm. A nearby airline representative hurried over, apologizing profusely and promising to retrieve the footage from the cameras. The agent's earlier defiance gave way to visible panic as she realized the implications. The very passenger she had demeaned had the authority not only to investigate, but also to recommend sanctions that could jeopardize the airline's operations. Within minutes, airport authorities arrived. The manager escorted the agent away for questioning. The burnt passport, now evidence, was carefully collected in a secure bag. Alicia remained steady, accepting temporary travel documents prepared urgently by officials. The crowd, which had initially stayed silent, now offered words of support as she headed toward the gate. What had started as a humiliating public spectacle had shifted into a clear display of accountability. Alicia's composure and quiet authority had turned the balance of power entirely. Alicia boarded her flight hours later than scheduled, reflecting on how an ordinary business trip had transformed into a pivotal moment of reckoning. For years, she had advocated for improved diversity training and enhanced passenger rights protocols across the aviation industry. Now, she had lived the very scenario she had warned about, racial bias manifesting at the front lines of customer service. The airline publicly apologized, suspending the gate agent pending investigation. Airport authorities launched a review of their own procedures. Video clips of the incident spread online, sparking outrage and renewed conversations about equitable treatment in travel. Alicia submitted a full report to the FAA upon arrival at her destination. It included not only the misconduct of the individual agent, but also recommendations for systemic change, mandatory de-escalation training, improved passenger verification protocols, and stricter penalties for racial discrimination in airline operations. She knew that progress in combating prejudice often came at the cost of personal hardship. Yet she believed that each incident brought an opportunity to reshape institutions. Weeks later, the incident became part of a national seminar on aviation ethics. Trainees watched the footage not as distant observers, but as future professionals responsible for preventing such violations. In interviews that followed, Alicia declined to focus on her own humiliation. Instead, she spoke about the importance of fair treatment for all passengers, regardless of their appearance or background. For the passengers who had witnessed the ordeal that morning, the memory remained vivid. It reminded them, and millions who later viewed the viral video, that injustice can occur anywhere, even in routine travel, and that dignity must be defended collectively. The question Alicia posed in her final report echoed across the industry. How many other stories like this go unrecorded? And what will it take for us to ensure they never happen again?